Axes are a fundamental tool and weapon that have taken on many changes and variations through human history. But why did they take such a strange turn in the Bronze Age? It may not look like it at first glance, but this is a type of axe head that dates back over 3,000 years. And to see how it works and why it's designed like this, we're going to go back even further. In the Stone Age, axes were of critical importance. These are the tools that allowed groups of people to construct buildings, clear land, and defend what they had from those who would take it. They were crafted and maintained with care, and by the Neolithic period took on the form of polished masterpieces. Their exact construction varied, but unlike modern axes, they lacked the socket or eye that would affix it to the handle. This is mainly because of how hard and brittle the stone is, making it difficult to shape and prone to fracture if thin spots are present. I mean, imagine trying to nap stone into this shape. I said stone axes lack a socket, but there were some exceptions that take on a very sturdy design to negate this issue of brittleness. They resemble a splitting maul in form. These were most likely used more like a maul for splitting or for battle, rather than a true axe. Anyway, for the simple forms, they had to be affixed to their handle by more creative means, generally with complex wooden sockets that surrounded the axe head that would then be lashed in place. If done properly, the force of impact on the blade would cause tension along the grain of the wood, rather than pushing out and splitting the handle. Another method of construction, if the blade was smaller, was wedging it into a crooked handle. The angled piece of wood has a messy grain geometry that is less prone to splitting, and lashed fibers around the head can absorb most of the impact force, making for a sturdy construction. It is this form of handle that will be most effective when the first copper axe heads were created. The metal was exceedingly rare, especially in the Chalcolithic and early Bronze Age, and so blades were made as small as possible to conserve material. The earliest metal axe heads were not so different in form to some of the prior stone axes, like this early Bronze Age example here, and so they were designed to fit into similar handle types. Though this handle design can be sturdy, it relies heavily on the fiber lashing to hold the head in place, likely requiring continuous maintenance and needing to be swung with care, or else a bad strike could push the blade up or down, tearing or damaging the handle. Axe designs would improve and get more complex further into the Bronze Age. Ridges and flanges were added that would reinforce the handle and further reduce splitting or tearing of the wood and lashing with use. The blades were correspondingly able to increase in size with this new sturdier design. This reinforcing of the wooden haft would eventually take the form of a fully socketed axe head design. This would completely encase the end of the wooden haft with bronze, fully resolving the issue of splitting outward from impact. Rings or loops were added to tie the head in place. This would prevent the axe head from falling off on a backswing or when lodged in the target. The design became extremely popular throughout Europe and would be used up into the end of the Bronze Age. Around the Eastern Mediterranean, there were more established civilizations and empires with highly advanced metalworking techniques, and this resulted in some extremely detailed and elaborate designs. Many of these would seemingly have far greater craftsmanship than later Iron Age and medieval axes. This is largely due to the method of manufacture. While bronze was melted and could be poured into complex and finely carved molds, iron and steel had to be beaten into shape by hammer, often resulting in still beautiful but simpler forms. By the end of the Bronze Age, due to the relative abundance of iron when compared to copper and tin, axes and other tools would be designed with greater emphasis on function and ease of manufacture, rather than conservation of the material. This would lead to more familiar forms, and the axes that we think of today. So while these axe heads may look weird, they are a reflection of the unique challenges and scarcities that ancient people had to live with. Without their creative efforts, we would lack the foundation for our modern tools and technologies that are entirely relied upon for our day-to-day lives. Thanks for watching.